All right, let's get right into it. We're going to unpack a single, really powerful chapter from an ancient story that plays out in two incredible acts. It's all about faith being pushed to its absolute breaking point, and a negotiation that, honestly, challenges the very nature of justice itself.
So let me ask you this. What happens when you're given a promise that seems completely impossible? I mean, it defies biology, defies logic, it defies everything you know to be true. And what if your private, cynical little laugh about it gets called out by a visitor who's more than they appear? And then, what would you do if you had the chance to bargain for the lives of an entire city? These are the huge questions we're about to jump into.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First up, we have the setup, a mysterious visit. Then the stakes get personal with an unbelievable promise. After that, the whole story pivots to this high-stakes, righteous bargain. And we'll finish up by looking at the power of 10.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture this. It's the middle of the day, blazing hot, out by the great trees of Mamre. Abraham, who's, not a young man, is just sitting at the entrance to his tent. And then out of nowhere, three strangers just appear. And his reaction is anything but what you expect.
Look at the action word here. He doesn't just get up and walk over, he runs. Now, in that culture, for an elder, a man of his stature, to run, that's a sign of incredible urgency and honor. He immediately bows all the way to the ground, showing this deep, profound respect before he even has a clue who these guys are.
And this is where you really see the depth of his hospitality. See, back then, hospitality wasn't just about being nice. It was a sacred duty, a big deal. But Abraham goes way, way beyond the call of duty. He rushes to his wife Sarah and tells her to use the finest flour. He runs to his herd and doesn't just grab any old animal, but a choice, tender calf. And then, get this, he serves the meal to them himself. This is the absolute red carpet treatment.
All right, so let's move on to the next beat of the story. After this amazing meal, the whole conversation takes a sharp turn. One of the visitors, who we now understand is the Lord, zeroes in on Abraham and makes this announcement that seems to come completely out of left field.
Just let that sink in for a second. Abraham is old. We know Sarah is also very old, way past the age of having children. So this isn't some vague, hopeful prediction. It is a direct, time-stamped promise from a divine being. It's a promise that seems to completely defy the laws of nature. And this slide just lays it all out, right? You see the massive conflict here. Sarah is inside the tent and she overhears this. On one side, you have her reality. She literally thinks to herself, I'm worn out and my husband is old. It's just a raw, honest fact. And on the other side, you have this completely impossible divine promise. The gap between those two things is just immense. So, what does she do? She laughs. But it's not a joyful laugh. It's a quiet, internal laugh. You know the kind. When you hear something so ridiculous, so out there, that you can't help it. It's a laugh that comes from pure, totally understandable disbelief. It's the sound of a lifetime of human experience crashing into a divine declaration. But here's the kicker. Her private little laugh? Not so private. The visitor immediately calls her out on it, asking Abraham, why did Sarah laugh? And then he drops this massive rhetorical question that is the whole point of this first half of the story. It completely shifts the focus from Sarah's body and her age to the Lord's limitless power. It's the central theme, right there.
And bam, just as that huge question is hanging in the air, the story completely shifts gears. The visitors get up to leave because their mission isn't over, and their focus turns from the promise of creating one life to the judgment of thousands of lives in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So, just so we're all on the same page here, the outcry against these cities was huge. Their sin is described as being incredibly serious. The Lord's plan is to go down there and see if it's really as bad as reports say, but the implication is clear. If it is, destruction is coming. And that's the setup for what Abraham does next.
Abraham steps forward, but he doesn't plead for his own family. Not at first. He starts with this incredibly bold, almost legal challenge to God. He's not just asking for mercy. He's questioning the very definition of justice. He basically appeals to God's own character, asking, hey, won't the judge of the whole earth do the right thing? What an opening move.
And so the negotiation begins. Abraham throws out his first number, 50. If there are 50 righteous people in the whole city, will you spare it for them? And the Lord agrees right away. Yes, for 50, the city is safe.
But Abram's not done, not by a long shot. He's feeling a little more confident now, so he presses his luck.
Okay, what if there are 5 less? What if you only find 45? You can see how he's carefully testing the waters here. And again, the Lord agrees. For 45, the city will be spared.
You can almost feel the tension ratcheting up, can't you? With 2 yeses under his belt, Abraham goes again, this time for 40. He knows he's walking a really fine line here, that he's risking making the Lord angry, but he just keeps going. And amazingly, the answer is still yes.
And now he makes an even bigger jump, all the way down from 40 to 30. His confidence is growing. He starts out by saying, "Please don't be angry," but you can tell he's getting bolder. And still, the Lord's patience holds. For 30, the city would be spared.
Now he's really pushing it, dropping the number all the way down to 20. You can see he's getting more methodical, more strategic, bargaining for these lives while he sees just how far divine mercy will stretch. And incredibly, the answer is still yes.
And that brings us to the final, absolutely breathtaking moment of this whole negotiation. Abraham has one more number in him, his smallest and most desperate plea yet.
You know, what's so fascinating here is the contrast. At the peak of his boldness, Abraham frames his request with such profound humility. He's basically saying, I know I'm nothing but dust and ashes, even while he's in the middle of this universe-altering negotiation with God. It's incredible. And then he says it, the final number, 10. He begs the Lord not to be angry just for this one last ask. What if only 10 righteous people can be found there? It's such a tiny number, barely a remnant. This is his final stand.
And just like that, it's over. The Lord agrees. For the sake of just 10 good people, the entire city would have been saved. Abraham has won his argument. He pushed the very idea of mercy to its absolute limit and got a yes every single time. And then the Lord leaves, and Abraham just walks back to his tent.
So we're left with this amazing contrast, right? The quiet, internal doubt of one person over a personal miracle versus the loud, public fight for a whole community. And it just makes you wonder, what's harder? To believe in a personal promise that defies all logic, or to argue for mercy for others when judgment seems like a sure thing? And which one of those acts of faith is the one that really changes the world? That's the question this story leaves us wrestling with.